Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today we are back for our weekly power rankings, and I have not uploaded very much the past 2 weeks. I've been kind of adjusting to a new schedule, also just for like personal stuff and for video stuff. So I want to do probably like at least one episode of No Money Spent for Madden every week. I want to do at least one like random NFL like player video, team video, anything like that once a week, on top of the weekly power rankings and week picks. So I've been thinking of how I'm going to do that. So I have that all figured out. So it's going to be back to daily uploading from here on out. We have this ranking video today. We have week picks tomorrow. We should have I want to say another info video Thursday, Madden video Friday, Saturday, something like that. So just been looking out for all of those. I do apologize for the kind of light uploading recently. We are back to it now. Also, happy Halloween to anyone that's watching this on Halloween, because I'm recording this on Halloween. I wanted to wait until after the trade deadline to record this, just in case of any other changes, and there were actually a few, which we will get to. And I also want to say before we get into it, just real quick, because I know it's been a bit of a longer intro, I did not do this video last week. So my rankings this week are from week 7 and 8 combined, I think, because I missed week 8 and week 7, week 8. I'm all over the place. It's week 7 and week 8. I forgot how I formatted it, but basically, if you want to see my last video where I had these teams, go check that out. But I'm gonna be building off of that for this video, including the week I missed. Not sure why it was so hard for me to say that, but moving on to the first team, which is the last ranked team in the NFL right now, is going to be the Panthers. Now, I was pretty proud of myself for picking the Panthers to actually win a game last week, and they actually did win a game last week. I thought the Texans were a very good matchup for them. They did win, but overall, they're still just not very good. I could see them, maybe rising 3 to 4 spots, assuming they get to like 7 wins, if they kind of get like some wins stacking up here. I doubt that happens. That's really the ceiling for them at this point, in my opinion. So they are still there at number 32. And at number 31, again, is also going to be the Giants. I believe they were 30 last time. They are now the 31st team. And it's really because a lot of things are just going wrong for them. You lose Daniel. Okay, well, first off, Daniel Jones and the Giants as a whole do not start out very good this year, which is, you know what? It's okay. Not the end of the world. Then things kind of stay bad for a while, and then Daniel Jones gets hurt. You have Tyrod Taylor in, who actually, looks pretty good, and then he gets hurt. And then you finish a game with -1 passing yards. And it's really crazy because you should have won that game. It's mind-blowing. You were in a spot to win a game with negative passing yards. The Giants just really do not have a lot going for them at this point. They're in a very tough division anyway. It just really sucks, the position that they're in at this point. But really all there is to it for them. And then next is going to be the Broncos, and I don't even know where they are on here. I'm not sure. Okay, right where the mouse was, apparently. Next is the Broncos, though, and again, kind of like the teams, most of these bottom 8 teams. Okay, I'm not gonna say all, but most of the bottom 8 teams, there's not a whole lot to really expect from them at this point in the year, because the first few weeks of doing this, it's like, yeah, they're off to a bad start, but there's still plenty of games left. At this point, we're going to week 9. You kind of get a sense of what teams are going to be doing the rest of the year. With, every once in a while, the team will maybe have an off game, because that stuff does happen. But for the most part, you kind of know for the Panthers and Giants and Broncos, and for some of these other teams that are coming up too, you know what to expect, and it's just not really anything good. The one thing I will say, though, for the Broncos, big win for them over the Chiefs. I don't think it matters in the long run for their season, but just be able to beat the Chiefs and say they kind of snapped that losing streak, because the last time they beat the Chiefs was back in 2016 when Peyton Manning was still there. So it's been a long time. So good win for them. Does it really matter for playoff implications? Probably not. But still, it's got to feel good to beat the team that's beat you for the past 8 years now. And then next is going to be the Bears. Now, I'm going to be honest. If for those of you that are like, why are the Bears over the Broncos when the Bears lost to them? Just switch them. I mean, it's totally valid. It's just 2 spots in the bottom 4 teams in the NFL. I'm not going to really fight you on that. It really doesn't matter to me. I think both are very similar. That's why it was so close whenever they played. And the Bears, like these teams, they're just in a really tough spot. Fields isn't even playing right now. The guy that you want to see progress and continue to develop the young quarterback, he's hurt. And, you did win a game, or at least you came close when I can't remember if they did won or not whenever Taylor or Tyson Bagent was in there. But, it's just overall for the Bears, this season has been very disappointing. They were, hyped up to be this much improved team. We got a huge package in return from Carolina. You still had Fields. You brought in DJ Moore. It looked like it was a big kind of turning point from this past offseason. It just didn't amount to anything. Although I will say, the Bears are still trying to do something to improve their team. They did go out and they did they did trade for Montez Sweat from the Commanders. I think it's a great move. The Bears had next to no pass rush. So I think it's a very nice addition for them. Montez Sweat is pretty good. I believe it was a early second round pick though, so maybe a little too high, but honestly, they needed a pass rush. I kind of support the Bears just going for it, to be honest. And then next is the Raiders. And yeah, the Raiders. Okay, let's go to the game last night. That was one of the worst performances I've seen from a quarterback in a while with Jimmy Garoppolo. And not because statistically he was 35 yards past or anything, but just the sheer amount of mistakes as far as hitting Devontae Adams. I mean, there was, I think, 2 plays for sure. There's probably more where he was wide open, but the 2 plays where he was wide open and got targeted, there was overthrown. And there's really there's no excuse for that. You can't miss guys, especially Devontae Adams, like that in a game that was also very close. The Raiders got a 75-yard pick six on Jared Goff. You were down, I believe, 2 points at one point. Very winnable game. Adams was getting open, and you just could not get him the ball. In fact, at halftime, not a single Raiders receiver had a reception. Not yards. They didn't even have a catch. Not a single one of them. It was either all tight ends or checkdowns. Which is seriously inexcusable. It really is. So I feel very bad for Devontae Adams. He did not get traded. The Raiders, they're not very good. Let's just put it that way. Then next up is actually the Cardinals. The Cardinals just traded away Josh Dobbs. I think it's an okay move for them because really you don't need him at this point. He served his purpose. He was in there. He competed. He did his thing. You start Clayton Tune this week, and then next week you probably get Kyler Murray back, or at least in the next 2 weeks. So, I guess you don't really need to hang on for him, especially because Dobbs did prove that he deserves some kind of shot. And you know what? The Vikings are going to give him one. So, really hope he can kind of make some things happen there. He's actually played pretty well considering what the Cardinals roster is looking like, considering James Conner has been hurt for the past few weeks. So, hats off to Dobbs. Hope the best for him. And the Cardinals, I think, might as well trade him off. Then next is the Patriots. The Patriots were farther down for sure, but in the past couple weeks, I did move them up because of that big win over the Bills. Same as the Broncos, in my opinion. No, in the long run, it just doesn't really mean anything, but it's a win that you just, as a fan, you just love to see because believe me, as a Panthers fan, I know what that feels like. The loss that just continues stacking up and poor offensive play, poor defensive play, poor coaching, whatever it may be. It feels nice to get those wins, and it must have felt nice for Mac Jones to get a big win like that as well. So it was a big-time win for them, especially with a divisional opponent like that and a better team in all the AFC like the Bills are. So good for the Patriots there. I don't think it ultimately matters because I think they were just still not very good, but still, great win, just still in the bottom 8 this week. And then the next team, some people might like this, some people might not like this. I don't really know. It just depends. You guys can let me know in the comments. I'm going to put the Saints here. I think there are a few teams I have just ahead of the Saints that you can definitely make a case for. But again, if it's like a 2 to 3 spot difference, maybe even 4, I'm not really going to argue with you on that. I mean, it's all pretty valid, and everyone's power rankings are different. So as long as you're in the same ballpark, I feel like it's, a valid opinion. If it's like, you have the Saints, top 10, top 15, there's a discussion to be had there, I guess. But that's where I have the Saints. If you guys have them a few spots higher, again, perfectly valid in my opinion. I do think Derek Carr has not played very well. I think the Saints offense, apart from Alvin Kamara, is just not where you want it to be. At the end of the day, it doesn't totally matter yet because you are in a very winnable division because the division is so bad. So, yeah, you're not playing your best, but there's plenty of season left, and you're right there in the race for the playoffs in the division title. So, you know what? I guess I don't think they're a great team league-wide, but playoffs are on the table, so might as well go for it. And then next, one spot ahead of them is the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers started off very hot, kind of surprising some people. I think they're coming back down to earth a bit now. I think it was going to happen at some point because they don't have the guys to compete like that week in and week out and really be that good. I think it is good for Baker Mayfield to at least play competitive football. I think he has for the most part. And really, I mean, if you guys want to go back to last Thursday against the Bills, that game is won if Chris Godwin turns around a second earlier in that Hail Mary. It was right there in the end zone. I've never seen a Hail Mary pass reach the end zone and just not get touched by anyone. Very, very strange to see that, but I guess people just lost the ball or weren't focused on it at the time when it was kind of heading down at that point. So, you know, you almost come back and win it. It would be really cool if you did on a Hail Mary throw like that. But the Buccaneers, again, like the Saints, know you're not a great team, but playoffs are still on the table. So you're still competing, you're still playing. There's no tanking, at least right now. So, you know, just keep going for it, I guess. And then next is the Packers. This is a team I had, I think, top 16 at one point this year. And they're just starting to kind of fall off. They're starting to kind of slip. Jordan Love is starting to kind of really show his just inexperience, really. I mean, it's his first full year starting. And, you know, you have Aaron Jones hurt for a few weeks. It's just tough to see. I think the Packers' potential is much higher than what they're playing at. I really do. I think they've had some very tough losses in games they'd like to have back. But, you know, football, every week matters. You know, there's only, you know, 17 games. You got to win every single one you can, especially in those closer divisions where you get to the top. You know, there's 3 teams right there in some divisions where it's all very, very close. The NFC North is definitely one of them, with the Vikings now coming up pretty hot. Lions are still on top, but again, it's not like they've ran away with it yet. So you would like to have more of those wins at this point. But the Packers, in my opinion, are starting to kind of slip, and they have kind of shown that in my power rankings and fallen down a few spots over the past few weeks. And then next is the Rams. Again, I have the Rams. That's not the Rams. The Rams are, I think, way better than what I thought they would be this year, first off. I thought they would be very, very bad. Bottom 5 in the league. They're definitely not bottom 5. I don't think they're very good by any means, but they have definitely exceeded expectations. And a big thing for them is that they have showed a future. You have a future in Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp, still a great receiver. Matthew Stafford, maybe not a future there. Now, you know, doesn't have a whole lot of years left. But you know what? I think the Rams have actually exceeded expectations, and good for them. It's just a really fun offense, honestly. They get some things under control, kind of get a young quarterback in there at some point, you know, it's not going to be too bad of an offense. So, again, still hope there. Very tough division, though, having to try and get, you know, that top spot or even top 2 and try to beat out either the 49ers or Seahawks. I don't see it, but good for them that they're at least this high, because in my opinion, I really didn't think they'd be much higher than bottom 5 this year. And then next is going to be the Falcons. Again, people might not like this. Personally, me personally, I'm ranking this here because Desmond, and I've said this, you guys can go back to any of my videos. I've always kept it very consistent like I do with all of my takes. I will definitely own up whenever I judge things incorrectly, like we will get to when it comes to the Titans, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about if you see my past videos. But especially for the Falcons, I have said the offseason, even to now, that I couldn't get behind the Falcons because I didn't believe in Desmond Ridder. He just really scares me whenever it comes to predicting them to have like a big year. I think it's really shown that he at least is just not yet ready for it. Whether you give him more time, you know, I don't know. But the Falcons offense, the potential is there. I mean, you have a very, very good offense. You just got to get the quarterback figured out. Your defense has been much improved. So, you know, they're down here, but again, you're in that race for the top of the division. So, season's not over by any means. Still a pretty good team, much better than last year as far as defense goes, and the offense is much better too. You got to find consistency at quarterback. And then next is going to be the Steelers. So, the Steelers, again, maybe this is too low. I don't know. You guys let me know. But I can't get behind the Steelers offense. I really can't. And it's just like, I don't know if it's Kenny Pickett. I don't know if it's the play calling. I really don't know what it is. It just doesn't mesh together like I think it should. Like, you have Kenny Pickett, and I wouldn't say regress, but he has definitely looked a bit more inconsistent than he did over the course of last year as the games went on. But you have Najee Harris just not looking as explosive as you would have liked him to after his rookie year. I don't think the ball is getting distributed properly to guys like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth, I believe, is hurt right now. So, you know, it's just very out of whack on offense. I think the Steelers have a long road ahead of them when it comes to making the playoffs, because you have the Bengals heating up. You have the Ravens really good. That really good Browns defense that you did beat, to be fair. So, it'll be close. I'm not saying I'm not counting them out or anything, because they do have a fine record, but I think it's going to catch up to them at some point, that they're just not quite ready yet. And then next to the Commanders. Okay, so talking about trades today, this is one of those teams where this definitely comes into play. It was, you know, long thought over the course of probably the last month, honestly, that Montez Sweat or Chase Young might be traded away. Basically, they'd have to choose one of those to keep, choose one of those to deal. Instead, they trade both. Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. You get rid of Montez Sweat and Chase Young. If there are any Commanders fans watching this, let me know down below what you guys think of this trade. Is it a good trade? Is it not a good trade? Because really, I don't know. I don't follow your team that, like consistently and, all the time. I have to educate myself when it comes to these type of videos. But in my opinion, I thought Chase Young, he's been hurt. He's playing pretty good football right now. Give him more time. You paid him second overall. Trade him off to San Francisco. So, I don't know. Maybe things weren't happening there. Maybe they want to do a bigger reset because of new management and all. I don't really know. Took me by surprise, though, that both of them are gone. And overall, very tough division. You've played some good games. I believe you do have a quarterback in Sam Howell. You got to protect him, though. When he is playing poorly, it's definitely on him at times, but a lot of it is also the pass protection. He's on pace to get sacked, I think, over 100 times or something insane. So, yeah, got to get that figured out. Definitely potential there, but just very tough division and really lost some close games you really need to win at this point. So that's it for Washington, though. And then next is the Texans. Once again, I had the Texans a bit high at one point. I want to say I had them as high as 16 when they started heating up. And sometimes I do like to jump the gun. I'm not going to lie. I like to kind of put teams way up there whenever they catch on fire and see if it stays or not. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does not. Texans, they haven't dropped too far. I do still think they're a good team. But losing to the Panthers is not a good look. And as a Panthers fan, believe me, losing to a team that can be ran that poorly is not a good look. And I know Texans fans are not thrilled about how that game went. Only putting up 15 points and, allowing 16 from the Panthers offense that really didn't look great at times. Did look much better, though, other times, to be fair, with a new play caller in there. So, one you like to have back, but still, Stroud has played very, very well. I think, you obviously still have your franchise quarterback there. And again, I've said this before with the Texans, it's not a one-year thing and all of a sudden after these changes they're, making the playoffs. It's definitely possible, but there's still a few steps to go before they can really compete like that in the AFC as a whole. So I think they're honestly ahead of schedule. So honestly, the fact that this high up, I would see as honestly really nice. And you're still also in the playoff race because of that division as well. And then one spot ahead of them is the Colts. Now I'm going to be honest. Once again, like I said, as far as the Broncos and the Bears, and these are two divisional opponents right here. If you guys have that switched, I will not argue on that. I think those teams are very, very similar, especially with Gardner Minshew in there. So I think they're on a very similar level. And, yeah, I think they're very close. So that's why they're together, and I think they're both pretty good teams, and we'll see what that looks like for the playoffs later down the road. All right, and so I said that we would get to the Titans, and I would have to talk about some things as far as owning up to some of my not as good takes, because I do have some things right, and I get some things wrong, like everybody else. And it's been one game. I'm going to say that it's been one game. We've seen guys start out hot, fizzle out. We've seen guys start off cold, and all of a sudden blow up. So, you really never know. But what Will Levis did Sunday against a pretty good Falcons defense, gotta say, may have not believed in him as much as I probably should have. I was not a fan of him, I'm going to be honest. Obviously, there's the arm strength. That's the one thing. Anybody that watches Will Levis, his arm strength is really, really good. It's by far his biggest strength, his biggest thing when it comes to just, as him as a prospect. And thinking like worst case scenario, he's going to have a great arm. Other than that, though, it's all kind of people disagreeing over maybe his accuracies, downfield vision, all that kind of stuff. But what he showed Sunday, and he did something that Tannehill has not been able to do at all up until this point, and that was just make big throws down the field. And back this offseason, whenever they got Hopkins, I actually did a video saying how I really loved that addition because, you can run the ball to Henry a bit, but you can also now take shots down the field to Hopkins because Hopkins, while he's not young, he's still a big play receiver. He can come out very big for you as he did with 3 touchdowns this past weekend. It's just a matter of getting the ball there. And Tannehill, apparently, he's hitting that point of his career. And honestly, respect to him, he's had a very good second half of his career. He did a lot for Tennessee. But if it's time, it's time. And I got to say, right now, there is nothing that would stop me from starting Will Levis. I'm not sure why you wouldn't at this point. Even if next game, if Thursday he comes out and plays poorly, I would not yank him out of there. I would let him keep playing and see what he can actually do consistently because he played very, very well. So really, my fault on that one if Will Levis turns out to be the next Tom Brady. Did not see that one coming, but really, he played great. So really cool for them. Titans at number 16. And then next is going to be the Jets at number 15. I do think, and like I said before, that I've kind of hung the Jets around here for a while because they've always like, I mean, since Rodgers got hurt, they've had some very bad games and they've kind of competed. They beat the Eagles at one point. So I'm just kind of hanging them around here. I'm going to be very honest. I don't know how I feel about the Jets. I think they're a pretty good team. And I do think that they do compete in games that really they shouldn't have any business being in because of how poor the offense plays sometimes. So very, very good for them. And honestly, good for Zach Wilson to even be in this spot. And you might even somehow get Aaron Rodgers back later this year. Then next up, we have the Chargers. And the Chargers... And I've said this before, I really feel like they are better than what their record shows. They've had some very close games, very tough losses. As far as their division title goes, they are definitely some games back, so I'm not sure about that. But there is time to try and turn some of these games around and get some more wins and maybe fight for a wild card spot. I really feel like they've just had some games where they just really dug themselves in a hole, or even just maybe just the season overall, they dug themselves in a hole. Now they're trying to bring themselves out of it for the playoffs at the end of the year. So very disappointing there. I feel like they've been a bit underwhelming just because some of the games that should have been wins just really didn't go that way, which is unfortunate for us. I do think they're a pretty good team, it just hasn't really gone that way up until this point. And then at 13 is the Vikings, and it's really unfortunate that Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles because really the Vikings were starting to kind of turn things around. Kirk was playing really, really good football, to be honest, and this is all without Justin Jefferson as well. And then he goes down with an Achilles, the second Achilles injury to really just hit a quarterback hard, which really sucks. And then I guess third counting J.K. Dobbins as well. So really, really tough. It's been a tough year for injuries as well. It just really sucks to see. The Vikings did make a move, though. They went out and they traded for Josh Dobbs from the Cardinals. And I got to say, Dobbs is going to be in a much better position than he was in Arizona. He has a chance to really do something with the Vikings because the Vikings are in a spot to potentially win the division or make the playoffs. So it's interesting. Dobbs has earned this. I think he's played very well. I think he deserves a real shot, and he's going to get one. Let's see if he comes through, because if he doesn't, the Vikings will likely slip in my rankings in the coming weeks. And then next is the Browns. The Browns are a really good team, but again, their offensive struggles have just really made them a little inconsistent at times, even though their defense has been honestly just incredible. And it's a scary thought to know just how good this team may have been if Nick Chubb did not get hurt. Because you got to remember, they don't have Nick Chubb. He's a massive, massive part of their offense. They are doing everything this year without their best player. I mean, offense and defense. Myles Garrett, again, is also, you can make an argument for either one, but both do just huge, huge things with this team. No other player does as much as they do. Not that, it's a team sport. Those guys do contribute. Just saying, as far as them alone, they contribute just a ton to this team. And Nick Chubb especially, it's just a huge part of that offense. So it sucks to see that. But the Browns, again, they're still in it. Don't count them out. It just sucks to see them not at full strength. But again, this is pretty high considering Watson is not playing and not Josh Dobbs, and Nick Chubb has also been hurt. So Browns, their postseason hopes are still alive. Got to get some tough wins though, because again, very competitive division, but they are still up there. And then next is the Seahawks, and the Seahawks, again, and I've said this before, I really felt like that Rams game sticks out as a game that we look back on and be like, man, they should have won that. I didn't think that's going to set the tone for their season, and it really hasn't. They've only lost one game since then, and that was to the Bengals, who are a team we'll get to in just a moment here. So I like the Seahawks a lot. I really do. They're now first place in their division because of the 49ers' recent losing streak. So good for them. They have a chance to really capitalize here, get some wins stacking up, and maybe even build a considerable amount of game lead on the team in second place in their division, which as of right now is the 49ers. So good for them, good for the Seahawks. They're there at number, I think, 13, 14, or not 13, 14, 12? I can't do math, whatever. But they're at number 11, so yeah, I was off with like all 5 of my guesses. Then next is the Lions, and I'm going to be honest, this is a team that I really, really wanted to put higher up there. I'm a big believer in the Lions. I showed that in, I believe, my last Power Rankings video, but that loss to the Ravens, it pulls them down a bit. I have to say it pulls them down a bit because the Ravens are a good team. That is a test against a very good team, and you get stomped. I mean, you lose badly to the Ravens. So it sucks to see that. Again, Lions are still a great team. They beat the Chiefs this year. I'm not saying they're not, but it is just one of those showings that you just really wish didn't go the way they did. So that's the reason for them being that far down, because again, I'd love to have them 3 spots higher than this. I really would. I believe I did before. But that Ravens loss just really hurts them a little bit. But again, Still a great team, and I still think that they will win the NFC North, as I predicted in the offseason, which I'm very happy I did, because I almost didn't, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go all in the Lions hype, and really, it hasn't disappointed. And then coming at number 9 is going to be the Bills, again, and I want to say this also right now. These, top 8, really top 10, are very, very close for me. I mean, seriously, you guys probably could have an entirely different order of the top 10, but with the same teams, and I would probably not argue with you, because these teams are all very similar. They've all won games that, by a lot. They've all lost games they probably should have won. So it is really interesting to see it kind of laid out, because it's very hard to make this ranking. So if you guys want to, comment down below your top 10 teams in the NFL as of right now. The Bills are going there. The Bills are a good team. They have a big matchup, Sunday Night Football, against a very hot Bengals team. That would really put the league on notice if the Bills win that. I gotta say, it would really mean a lot, because the Bills have had a few close games recently with the Buccaneers, with the Giants. A big statement win like that on Sunday Night Football against a pretty good team, it would be really huge for the Bills. We'll see if it goes that way, but big game coming up. And then next, right ahead of them, is going to be the Bengals. I do think the Bengals are really back on track, and I said before that it really came down to Burrow's health. I mean, not saying just me. That's what everybody kind of said. If Burrow's not healthy, this team's in trouble. He's healthy, and they look really good. Came out, really smacked the 49ers, and Burrow looked absolutely phenomenal. By far his best game of the year. He looked more how he thought he would this year, so healthy Burrow, healthy Bengals. It's going to be very tough to beat this team, especially because when they get the wins stacking up, it's hard to beat them. It really is. Last year, 8-game win streak. So we'll see how this goes. Again, big game for them Sunday Night Football against the Bills, and if they win that, again, I think that will really put people, moving them up that top 4, top 5 range, because the Bengals are a good team, and they needed their franchise quarterback to be healthy to be in this position. And one spot ahead of them is going to be the Ravens. Now, again, I think the Ravens and the Bengals are very, very similar, and I am very excited to see when they have that rematch later on this year, because the Ravens beat them without a healthy Burrow. And I'm not trying to say to discredit them at all, because it was a very tough win, but that is just the truth. Burrow was not healthy. He was not mobile. So the real test is going to come whenever they play each other again, as far as who's the best team in that division. But what I will say is the Ravens win over the Lions, it doesn't get much bigger than that. I mean, that's a team that, people are like, they're a division winner, most improved team going into this year, playoff team, and the Ravens demolished them. It was really not even close. So I think now with the Bengals beating the 49ers in a big win like that, I think both teams have a big win under their belt. Both teams are now, kind of on their way this season. You can kind of see like the direction that they're going. So I'm really excited to see whenever they play again, because I want to see those teams go at it now with guys fully healthy. I think it should be a really, really fun game when that rematch happens, which I believe will be in Baltimore as well. And then next is the Jaguars. Again, this might be really high up there, but I have to do a little recall here back to the offseason. I was very high on the Jaguars. If you guys watch my offseason stuff, you'll know that. They were a team that I was very, very high on because of their offensive potential. I think they're really starting to hit it. As far as Travis Etienne goes, utilizing Calvin Ridley, still utilizing Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram's playing well. I mean, the Jaguars are a very good football team, and I want to have them this high. I want to see how long they stay up here, see those wins keep stacking up with Trevor Lawrence there too. So might be too high. If it is for you guys, I get it. I totally get it, but I just have to kind of be consistent with my takes, and I do think the Jaguars are a very good football team. All right, guys, and next is going to be the Cowboys. Again, the Cowboys, they had a very bad loss to the 49ers, but other than that, I think the Cowboys are still a very good football team. I want to have them around here a bit longer, see how they perform. I could definitely consider moving them down as the Bengals begin to heat up. Maybe if the Jaguars stack up wins, maybe if the Ravens continue to stack wins, the Cowboys could definitely slip, but as of right now, there just really isn't a reason for me to do that. The Cowboys are a good team, and I'm going to leave them there as the 5th team overall. And then next is going to be the Chiefs. Now, again, people may have wanted me to drop the Chiefs much farther after their loss to the Broncos, which, it's a bad loss. I'm not going to defend that. Very bad loss for them. But Mahomes is playing with the flu. It's just like, I'm not going to hold out against them too much. It's obviously a game you should have won regardless. But the Chiefs, still a good team. I'm not going to drop them 8 spots for losing to a divisional opponent because Mahomes had the flu. I think they're still a good team. But again, you should have won the game. You're much, much better than them. It is what it is. They're still a great team, though, so they are going to go right there. Next is going to be the 49ers. They're starting to slip, and I will say they are going to fall much farther than this if they continue to lose some of the... Why can't I not put them there? if they continue to lose some of these games. You've now lost to the Browns, you've now lost to the Vikings, and you've now lost to the Bengals all in a row. You keep losing, I'm going to have to drop them even farther. So they're still there in third. I like the 49ers. Purdy has some bouncing back to do, though. We'll definitely say that. And again, they don't have Debo, but beside that, those games were still winnable, and they still should count on top of them. So very interesting there. But next is going to be the Eagles, because I think the Eagles still are a very good team. I think Hurts has played very well. The tush push is just undefeated. It's like a broken play. It's really crazy. They ran a counter out of it last time, so that was really unexpected. I like the Eagles. Did I just move that again? I like the Eagles a lot. I really do. So they're still going to stay there at number 2. They have a very tough schedule upcoming, though. So, again, if they start to lose those games, they're going to fall. They're going to be tested for sure. And speaking of tested, the number 1 team I have right now is the Dolphins. But I believe they have the hardest schedule remaining this year. So, again, if they start to slip, things are going to change. Things are already changing a lot in, like, my top 10 because of some of these losses. So that's going to do it, though, for my Week 9 power rank. It's honestly crazy for me to think that we're already in Week 9. So, guys, let me know down below what you guys think of my rankings, what your guys are, what my bottom 8 looks like, all that kind of stuff, whatever your guys looks like, how your favorite team is doing this year. I'd love to hear anything like that. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel for more NFL content like this. I do it every single week. I know it's been very light uploads this past week and a half, 2 weeks. Moving on from that, daily uploading once again. So make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel for more NFL and Madden content, because I also do Madden videos like gameplays, No Money Spent series, pack openings, new permanent content news, all that kind of stuff. And then for NFL, we do these week power rankings, we do weekly picks, in NFL news videos, player rankings, all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.